welcome back to 67. I'm Keith, and this is our home in Derbyshire in the United Kingdom. In this week's video, we will cover the following topics: leaves and why I collect them and why they save money, introduce you to my composting method, also explaining why I deviate from some of the traditional views and opinion that you can find online, preparing the greenhouse, including some repairs and upgrades that you might find useful, and planting of tomatoes, cucumber and cabbage for the oncoming season. I hope you enjoy. So as you've just seen, I've collected a load of leaves from around the front of the property, and I'm transferring them into a old green wheeler bin with the lid removed. It's got holes drilled in the bottom, and I'm storing the leaves weighted down so that I can use them later in the composting bin, and use what's left at the bottom of the bin as a good humerus material for composting going forward. If you've watched some of my other videos, you will see that I process firewood for our primary source of heat in the home. The byproduct of this is wood chippings, shavings, tree bark and leaves. My routine is that I always leaf blow all of that debris from processing the firewood and store it in a corner by the workshop. Then I bag it all up in old reusable bags that I've saved over years, and I use this in my composting process. Let me introduce Black Darling number 1. These are composting bins that are readily available. Some of the experts tell you that you should not have these because you can't generate the heat within the composting bin. What I've found is if you put them in a corner of your garden that keeps them out of the wind, they will generate enough to make you a good humerus compost. So what you see me adding here is a layer of the leaves and just smashing them up, breaking them down, and then I'm going to put a layer of the tree bark, the wood chippings, etc. that I've just collected up. This is Green Darling number 2, again located against a wall in a corner in the garden so that I can generate the heat that's needed for the decomposition process. What also I'm adding here is a top layer of the raised bed from the greenhouse, where I'm actually going to take some of the composted material from the bottom and replenish the raised beds in the greenhouse. if you go online, you can find lots of tables that tell you what you should have and shouldn't have in compost. What you'll see here is a list that I've picked up off the internet. There's actually some things on here with the red cross against the side that I don't put in anymore. I used to, but I've found over time and with my experience that things like tea bags, just the tea leaves are fantastic for the garden, but the tea bag does not break down. I think I read somewhere that microplastics take 400 years to break down, and tea bags have actually got a lot of plastic in them, so I've stopped putting them in now. In terms of the green materials, you can see there again the list off the internet. There are things that I do not put in. Weeds, for example, because you can't get the high heat, you don't break the weed down, and I find that weeds tend to come back in the compost. For some reason, a whole potato made its way into the composting bin from the kitchen, and it had actually started sprouting. So obviously I've discarded that. Take one. Take two. I'm just compacting the layers down now to make up for the void that's at the bottom of the bin. Add in what's come from the kitchen. The white material that you can see within the soil is vermiculite. Vermiculite's really good for holding heat in the soil, so I'd added a layer off camera. panel that you can see behind me was a temporary replacement done during the winter because the storms broke two of the panels. We'll replace this later. Three-in-one tester. The bottom is, although I've given it 4 watering cans, it's actually dry. The soil temperature is 14 degrees, so that's perfect for planting, and low sunlight. The next job is to clean all the windows, give it a good jet washing. So that's the next task. But before we get to that, let's replace that panel. And before I forget, I need to add a new rail around the greenhouse to attach the canes to. Before planting the tomato, I'm adding fish blood and bone from the brown bucket, and I also put a coconut matted fertilized pad in the bottom of the hole, a small pad that helps the plant get the nutrients it needs while it grows. Thanks. Every season it seems that they bring new varieties out. So we've got 4 different varieties of tomato plant here. So I always put the label at the back so that we know at the end of the season which was the best. variety to buy for the next season. So I need some more compost now for the cabbage. So let's go and visit the black garlic. So I'm taking the cabbage that we bought from the garden centre and I'm splitting them down into their own individual pots. It's far too early to put out into the garden yet, so I'm just going to grow them on as singles, and they'll live happily in the greenhouse until the soil outside temperature warms up. So some of you may not be familiar with a bucket in a bucket. So what I'm doing here is preparing 2 buckets for the cucumbers. And what the inner bucket does is protect the stem from getting water on it. If you get water on the stem of the cucumber, they tend to rot. So actually, as the roots establish and go through the first bucket into the second, you water into the back bucket, and then that will keep the stem clear of water and clear of rot. It's a good trick to ensure that your cucumbers stay healthy throughout the season. The white substance, the crystals, is vermiculite, which slow releases heat during the evenings. Just adding an extra layer of protection from my slimy friends. It's probably worth noting as well, eggshells, crushed eggshells, the slugs and snails don't like to slide over them because it's very difficult to do. So the more eggshells you can add into your compost, the better it will be to protect yourselves from our slimy friends. Whilst we've got the compost, we'll plant the plum tree on the front to replace the one that perished. little hack here. When wanting a semi-permanent solution to hold the tree back, I drill a small hole in a tie wrap, attach that to the post, and then loosely attach it to the tree to save it from being bashed around in the wind. So we're 24 hours on now. As you can see, the second row of peas are in successfully. All their little gadgets to try and keep the pigeons away from them because they love little seedlings. And then as we move around into the greenhouse, it's quite cold today. It's only 10 degrees in the greenhouse. Well, as you can see, 24 hours later on, I've closed the door to protect myself from the wind. All the tomatoes are doing well. Cabbages have come back nicely and they seem very happy. There's just some flowers there that are going to get planted out, and all the tomatoes are in good shape. Obviously the cucumbers as well. It's probably worth just noting that I have got a paraffin heater, so if it drops below about 5 degrees at night, I will actually light that and put that in the centre to keep everything warm. So I hope that's been useful to you. I hope you've picked up some tricks, some tips. Please share the videos, that would help me amazing if you could do that for me. I'm trying to track my progress, I'm trying to pass on my experience, and the more we can get that out there, the better it will be. I hope you have a great week. I hope you've learned something from it. Please comment if you do things differently. I'm always wanting to learn, and thanks for watching.